Hey everyone, and welcome to the introductory podcast for a new independent movie called Aparoksha. And we call this podcast The Making of Aparoksha. So what is Aparoksha? You're going to find out in a few minutes. Hang with us, won't you, as we talk with the writer, the director, the leading man, and all-around interesting young man, Bryson Burnette. I'm your host and producer for this podcast, George Taylor. Aparoksha. Now, what does that mean? Do you want to know? Yeah, you know you do. Bryson Burnette and I talk about this new movie coming soon to a computer, phone, a pad, or TV screen near you. You can hear the haunting details about how it came to be, meet the cast of the movie, hear a little more about the story, but I promise you, no spoilers. And we'll hear some audio from the movie too, just to tease you a little bit. So let's start by talking with Bryson. I'm sitting here with Bryson Burnette, the genius behind Aparoksha.
Hello, great to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you here. Bryson, tell us about yourself.
All right, well, my name is Bryson Burnette. I am 19 years old. I am originally from Dalton, Georgia, born and raised. I currently live in Ringgold, Georgia, just down the road. Lived in Georgia my whole life. I am in between schools right now. I spent a semester at Oglethorpe University doing theater with a minor in film. I grew up acting from 4th grade onwards, and I fell in love with acting and theater and movies I always loved, but acting on stage was my passion, and I think will always be my number one passion and love. I just love being able to step into other characters and explore them to learn more about myself. And I think the rest of it came with it, the love of the entertainment business in general. You know, it was something that I could see myself doing the rest of my life and have fun. Because it's about stories, it's about people, it's about life, and you can have a lot of fun doing it. You know, you're not just going to a 9 to 5. And I think even though it is risky and there is a lot of it's difficult, even from the beginning, I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. I can't see myself being happy doing anything else. And so I always had that drive to not only participate in things, but to create. I wrote stories from a young age. I tried so many times to write books when I was like 12. I have this comic book series and I'm writing out my notebook paper. It was always terrible. Like with every good idea, I had like 99 other bad ones, and it's always going to be that way.
That's usually that way it is.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I just wouldn't give up. I always kept trying to create. And as I got older, I got more advanced equipment. I got a phone. I could start filming stuff. I started writing scripts and things. High school came along and I fell in love with the drama club there, and that's when I really decided I am going to pursue acting as a career. And my drama teacher there really was like a mentor to me, and he showed me a little more about the movie business because he had some experience in the film industry. And so I started learning more about how the ins and outs of it worked, and I also started looking at films more critically. Instead of just watching a movie, that was a good movie, I was like, how was this made? What message were they trying to give? What's the story? What's the good and bad things about it? And I started to learn more about that, and I started to love different kinds of film, more avant-garde, experimental art house films that really try to push the boundaries with film and try and tell some stories that aren't just a bunch of cliches trying to make money at the box office. And I always found them so enticing because it was people really bearing their soul out there, even if it didn't make any sense. It was like these people is coming from a place of passion. And I started to look at film more and more as a serious career besides acting, either acting in films or creating my own. I didn't know yet. Come junior year, I started having some success in acting. I win a few awards, I go to a few competitions, and I start getting more recognition from people, and I get approached by somebody saying, hey, I heard about you from a one-act competition, and we're doing like a little film studio here in Dalton. We're wondering if you'd like to join. It's by the name of Step Studio. It's a student-led film studio, the first independent student film studio in the country to do what it does. Basically, what it does is we will create branches of students in colleges and universities around Georgia and we will give them the means and the equipment to make their own films and then run the film festival circuit and go from there. As of right now, we have, I believe, 8 or 9 branches with about 4 or 5 films currently in production, including a short film I directed a few months ago that's currently in post-production. And it's opened my eyes to the world of film in a way I never thought possible without going to college and knowing people in Atlanta. Like in Dalton, Georgia, we're making films led by a 17-year-old kid named Jacob Pogue, who's one of the most impressive young men I know. And I can't thank him enough for showing me the business side of film and making me realize, even with all of the paperwork and the meetings and the months of waiting and failure, this is fun. This is fun, and this is rewarding, and this is a true experience. This is not just getting on stage and acting. This is filming. This is lighting. This is sound. This is equipment. All of it to give a visual and audio journey to your audience. To take them on a journey, tell them a story, and immerse them in a world that's might be similar, might be different from your own, but just to escapism at its finest. And it just totally enticed me. And I went to school, Oglethorpe University, for a semester, focused on theater with a minor in film. I wanted to learn more about the technicality side of film, but I also wanted to pursue acting. But while I was there was when I started writing the script for my short film, and I met amazing people down there and started the Oglethorpe branch of STEP. That's when the making of my short film was what made me realize that maybe I want to focus more on the director chair, at least for a while before I get back into acting again, to learn more about the technical side of film, about filmmaking, being behind the camera, and really all of those years of writing stories and making failed visions, finally getting something out of that. Instead of just being given a script and told to act, I'm now creating the script and telling others to act, and being able to see characters and stories that you wrote on screen come to fruition, come out of the paper, there's nothing like it. It's amazing. So I really fell in love with it there, and we're currently in post-production for that short film. I'm currently in between schools. I'm planning on going to West Georgia for film now as my focus, with theater as a minor, because as much as I love acting, I feel like there's more to gain from focusing on learning about the technical side of film than learning acting theory, if you get me. There's more to learn as far as like being there for a few years. I'd like to learn as much useful information about the business as I can, and then get out there and start getting jobs. And so I think focusing on film is the best idea for me to do, even if I do focus on acting later. I don't know yet. But in between schools right now, I was wanting to do like a little passion project before I left. This is where this film came out.
This film is named
Aparoksha. That is the current working title. I'm not sure if we're keeping it yet, but that's where we're at right now with it.
Tell us about the name.
Well, Aparoksha is a Sanskrit word. It means direct spiritual knowledge. Basically in the Hindu religion, specifically Indian philosophy. It is the highest level of spiritual knowledge one can attain. Usually a guru has to teach it to someone about the Aparoksha. It's like a form of enlightenment in a way. I found that word looking at inspirations for like names of this cult that the film is centered around, because what I wanted to explore is the theme of forbidden knowledge and things that you're not meant to know. And I'm like, what's something out there in like some religion or that is centered around that, about like enlightenment, about knowing more than anybody else. I found myself learning a lot about the Hindu religion and taking a lot of inspiration from it, because they have a lot of that idea of spiritual knowledge, physical knowledge, and the differentiation between the two. And Aparoksha is like the highest version of that. I do want to say that I'm no expert on Hinduism, so forgive me if I make any mistakes, but I did find what I learned very fascinating, and I did take inspiration from it for this film.
All right. So you have created a script. Tell us a little bit about the story that this film tells.
Aparoksha is a story about a group of teenagers that are making a documentary about their hometown's paranormal history. While they're interviewing and researching and digging, they stumbled down a rabbit hole of a lost secret cult that lived around their town a few hundred years ago, and about this evil entity that they worshipped, and the secret forbidden knowledge that was given to them as a result, and the dark repercussions of that decision. And just simply learning of it attracts the wrong attention, but they don't stop. They keep digging, and they keep looking, and they keep learning, and they stumble upon some really, really evil stuff. The film is then about them trying to escape from it and trying to learn from the consequences of their actions.
Okay. How did that particular aim of the story come about? I mean, how did you kind of go, okay, this is an evil cult that these guys are pursuing, these teenagers are pursuing, and there are concepts. How did you get into that whole headspace?
It was a journey. It was a journey, I must tell you, because I'm sure reading the script, there's a lot of moments in it that's like, who wrote this?
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of weird stuff, and I gotta admit, but it's all from somewhere. It was a lot of things that really converged into this perfect storm in a way. It started out, this particular film started out, I wanted to make a web series originally. I wanted it to be a series of episodes on YouTube that pushed more into an alternate reality game, which is using media to tell a story where the fans will piece together the different pieces of media, either video, text, tweets, whatever, and piece together the puzzle. And have a lot of like cryptic stuff going on, and like kind of get the viewers involved more.
Mm-hmm.
But due to budget, due to time, due to scheduling, I figured it'd be best to just film one film and move on, because I'm going back to school, a lot's going on, so I just wanted to make this a summer project and go with it, so I condensed it into a film. But the story itself, originally I was wanting to revive the character of Slender Man, who was a big horror character in the early 2010s that saw a lot of success with similar web series such as Marble Hornets, Everyman Hybrid, Tribe 12, which I watched a lot as a child, like 12, 13, 14, and really got me into horror as a genre and made me fascinated with the found footage style, which is what this film is shot in.
Okay, so explain found footage, just in case.
Found footage is a subgenre of films, mostly with horror, but can be used for other genres, where basically the camera is an object in the film and is being held by the actors and is acknowledged as a thing in the world space. And so it's usually seen as like recovered footage or found footage, as it implies, but it can also be uploaded or given by the characters themselves, if they live through the story. But found footage has always really fascinated me. It saw its origins in the latter half of the 20th century with films such as Cannibal Holocaust, The McPherson Tape, Man Bites Dog, stuff like that. But it really got going with the Blair Witch Project in '99, which really took advantage of it in a way no other film did, in that it really pushed the level of this illusion of being real. It tricked people into thinking it was actually real. It had a documentary about these kids that went missing. There was like a History Channel thing about it. They interviewed the parents of the characters. They had a website, all of that, which you can't do nowadays. In the early days of the internet, you saw that online, you're like, wow, this is real. I can't wait to go watch these kids die on film. Nowadays, everyone would immediately call bull the minute they saw it. But even then, found footage has this level of immersion that you don't see in other films, because that barrier between reality and fiction is broken, in that the camera is right there with the actors, and it's shown off as being like actual footage that these people found, kind of thing. And so even for just a second, if your brain can trick you into thinking it's real or that it could have actually happened, it's a feeling that you don't see in any other movie. And it's especially effective in horror, because it gives you that terror of like, that could happen to me, oh my goodness. And so it's very engaging. And unfortunately, the market is saturated with a lot of low effort, cliche found footage films of people trying to get in on the fad, which really started in the 2010s, but it started to die down. You don't see that many in the last few years. I've just wanted to try my hand at it, whether or not the market itself is ready for it, whether or not it's something people are wanting. It's something I want to do. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I want to try my hand at horror. I want to try my hand at some unconventional filmmaking, and so far it's been a lot of fun, and I think something can really be made out of this.
Gotcha. Going back to the theme of the script for a moment, we were reading through the script tonight, and I came across a line in one of Michael's speeches. He says, I wanted there to be something bigger than us, something bigger than day-to-day life, and there it is. I found it, and now I'm paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at that line and going, my goodness, that's the sum of the script.
Yeah, it's the theme. It's the theme. I got it right there.
Yeah.
I originally didn't want the theme to be specifically forbidden knowledge and, paying for that and stuff. What it came out of was it was really going to be a Slenderman character, and then I moved into it was going to be a Wendigo. I was going to look specifically...
A Wendigo. I'm not familiar.
It's a Native American creature in their folklore, specifically northeastern tribes like the Algonquian. It's a evil spirit that can move people to cannibalism, and it was believed to, in rituals and stuff, people, if they practice ritual cannibalism, they would either be possessed by or turn into the Wendigo, depending on what you read and looked at. But it's classic, creature in the woods. Nowadays, it's the modern interpretation is this creature with antlers and stuff. But the original thing was, in the folklore, was more like this, just this either a bodiless spirit or more like this pale human-like thing. But it's very creepy, and I'm fascinated with Native American mythology, and living in southeastern United States, you see a lot of Cherokee and Creek influence around here.
Yeah, particularly in this area.
Yes. Particularly. So I wanted to draw on some of that. Even though the Wendigo is not necessarily Cherokee, it is Native American, and I have a great admiration for Native American folklore. So I wanted to try something with that. But as I was writing the story, it just naturally came out that the story I was wanting to tell that just kind of came out of me naturally, it didn't need to be a Wendigo story. In fact, the Wendigo, you could make this any other monster and it wasn't the Wendigo. It didn't have to be the Wendigo. And so I talked to a buddy, and he was like, well, this script has a lot of vibes of just this idea of knowing too much, and why is there this forbidden knowledge and stuff, and I didn't even mean for it to happen, but as I was writing it, that's just kind of what came to me. And probably because I'm a big fan of cosmic horror like Lovecraft, which has this big idea of forbidden knowledge that if you know about it, you go insane, or that you're not supposed to know it. It's a secret cult and stuff. It's a lot of Lovecraftian fiction. And so it just, without it, subconsciously came out as I was writing ideas and stuff. And so he was like, why don't you rearrange the script and focus on that? And so I sat down for a few days, and the Aparoksha was born.
Okay.
And that's where it came from.
Okay.
So let's pause right here and take a listen to Michael from the actual dialogue in the movie.
I almost forgot that this was supposed to be a documentary for school. That seems so long ago. Now it's the only thing keeping me sane. This week has been hell. We're stuck in a cycle, chasing our tail. Eventually we'll be next. See this as a cautionary tale. See this as a story of a man who dug too deep. I wanted so bad to find anything about the supernatural, about anything that was bigger than us, anything otherworldly. I wanted to believe so bad that there was something out there that was greater than this day-to-day existence. And I was right. I was right. And now I'm paying for it.
So how did you choose the actors that you have picked?
Well, for the lead role, Michael is played by me. I had a small acting role in my short film because I didn't want to balance directing, writing, and acting in it much. But this one being found footage, the cameraman is also the lead actor and is oftentimes the director, but not always. I thought that the way this film is shot, and being my first feature-length film, I wanted to be able to both be in a found footage film and both direct a found footage film and write it. I wanted to live it all because I've been wanting to do this for so long, and also I feel like it gives me the most involvement possible, that I'm able to steer along the actors, because I don't want to be hidden behind a tree while they're running around with the camera and be like, go that way. I want to be able to steer it like the ringmaster kind of thing, to make sure the film goes smoothly, because there isn't that level of there's not people standing behind the camera directing and stuff. You can't do that with found footage because the camera is always moving around wherever the actor's going. And so I think it was just easiest that way. And also, I'm just recently getting back into acting, but when I started writing this, I hadn't gotten a large acting role in about a year. So I wanted this to have an opportunity for me to explore a character more and really step into someone else's shoes.
Okay.
And so that's why I did that for me. For the other actors, the two other leads is Eden and Thomas. Eden is played by Mia, who is your niece.
Right.
And was actually recommended to me by Cody, one of our tech guys, and also by you. You guys both put in good word for her because unfortunately the original actress for Mia had to step down due to scheduling issues. For Eden had to step down due to scheduling issues. So both of you guys sent word that Mia was a very good actress and had worked with some of y'all before. And so I interviewed her. She immediately impressed me. So I brought her on. Thomas was played by my best friend, Parker Hargis, who we've been friends and we've been acting together for 3+ years.
Yep.
And we do everything together, but we haven't had a good acting role together in quite a bit since high school. And he was in my short film, but we never got a scene together. So I told him, I said, next time I do a movie, I promise I'll get you a big part in it. And so as I was writing the script, I'm like, this character here is perfect for him. I got it.
Yeah.
And so in
Y'all
a way,
play well together.
Yeah, we have a lot of good chemistry. We did very well doing duo scenes and competition together as a result of that, because we're best friends in real life. Playing friends in a movie is pretty natural. And all of the characters are pretty similar to the actors they play, because a struggle of being an indie filmmaker is you kind of have to work with the actors you have around you. You can't, do a casting call around the country. So whenever you're writing a script, although I don't recommend every scriptwriter writing characters for certain actors, because it can lead to, what if you have to recast, then it might not work as well. With indie filmmaking, you might have to do that more because that's who you have, and so you can write the character that that person will play them best. And so that's kind of what I did here to help with the naturalistic acting found footage is known for. Play the characters as similar to you as possible, and you'll get the most natural performance typically. For Dr. Saunders, that is played by you, George. I worked with you with some audio work,
right.
And I think you have a great voice for audio work, and you just played the wise mentor character very well. And so I was writing the character, I'm like, every horror movie needs a good professor, needs a good exorcist priest character kind of thing. And I'm like,
you need the one guy who says don't.
Yes, you need the wise mentor to be like, no, I heed my warning. And I'm delving into some cliches, but I think cliches can be fun when done well, and I think you were a really good fit for it. You're a fan of history and religion and stuff as well, so I thought it might be something that would entice you, and so I approached you for that. And for the monster is played by another friend of mine, my other best friend, Cadence Lepker. We had someone else playing the monster, but due to scheduling issues, she had to drop out. And Cadence has been my other acting partner for years. We've done a lot of stuff together, and we work together well. And she was one of the leads in my short film, and over the summer she didn't have anything going on. I'm like, hey, you want to help me with another movie? Originally she was going to do tech because she wanted to do some more behind the scenes stuff, but she stepped up to the role for the monster, and the costume fit her perfectly, and she's really getting into the idea of creating this really interesting costume with all sorts of stuff to it, and she's really excited for it, and I think it would be really cool. I've always wanted to play a horror movie monster. I think that sounds really fun, know? And so I think she'll do very well with that. And the last major role is Gabriel, played by Gavin Russell, who, if you are around Lafayette, you might know him as the local raving madman. Gavin is one of the most interesting but sweetest and sincere people I know. He is very, very interesting and unique in his own way, and he is not ashamed of it. He is very interested in comic books, the occult, in history, in religion, in strange, obscure fiction. He always has some interesting hyperfixation on something. He has so much knowledge. He's such a smart, well-read guy, and perfect for the cliche of the insane lunatic villain. And I'm like, perfect, I got you right here. And so once again, I'm writing a character for an actor, sue me. You got to do it with stuff like this. And it's fine. I think he's playing it very, very well. And I approached him with the initial idea all the way back to the Slender Man bit, and he was like, I'm in. Crazy guy, I'm in. And he's so excited. He said, this is like my dream role. This is like a role I've wanted to play for a long time. And so he's giving it his best, and I'm very excited to see him on camera with it. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun because we are actually going to be interviewing each of these actors and even some of the smaller role players that are a part of this film in the course of this podcast. So you'll get to meet each of them individually. That's going to be fun.
And they'll all have very, very interesting things to tell you and a lot of insight. And it's it's going to be really interesting seeing all these amazing creative minds coming together to make some magic happen. So,
Exactly.
I wish everyone the best with this.
Yeah, it's fabulous. So one of the other things you've told me you do is a podcast.
Yes.
Tell us about your podcast.
So I run a podcast based on Spotify. Me and my buddy Joseph Lincoln, we run it together. It's called Critical Collegiates. We are two collegiates that think critically. So basically what we do is we take different topics, either hot issues in the world, history, conspiracy theories, and we look at them and we take a few episodes for each topic to break it down piece by piece and examine each part of it and look at differing views, looking at the actual evidence, and piecing it all, the puzzle together and trying to determine the truth of the matter, oftentimes to either debunk something or prove something, or to just tell people, hey, this is what's actually going on, and give our own takes on it. It's a little freeform in that way. It all depends on what topic we're doing. We'll edge more into different approaches to it, but it's all in an effort to teach people to look at the facts and forge your own opinions. Don't just listen to what people tell you is true. Find the truth yourself. And we are currently producing a series on America's founding fathers, with the first episode on Alexander Hamilton should be out next month. So stay tuned for that.
You're not doing it as a rap, are you?
As a rap?
As a rap. Yeah, a rap series of rap songs.
No. Oh, I thought you meant like rap, like that's a rap. No. But we, of course, will be mentioning the musical.
You can't pass it up.
You can't pass it up. We can't. But we'll be looking at the actual historical Alexander Hamilton.
There you go.
But and we'll cover a few more founding fathers as well. And that's what we're doing right now. But we have a few more series on a couple other topics. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. Mm-hmm. So if you'd like to listen to two dudes just talk about random stuff for an hour and a half, go ahead.
Okay. All right. And you're on Spotify, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any final words?
I think that's about it for me. I've had a long day, a lot of film business. So I think that's all I've got right now in the engine. But thank you, George.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you for taking time with me.
Of course.
All right.
So Aparoksha is coming to a computer, a phone, a TV, or a tablet near you soon. If you check the show notes, you'll find a link to Step Studios and to Bryson's other film efforts, as well as a link to his podcast, Critical Colleagues. Won't you subscribe to this podcast? You can hear from the rest of the cast and their stories as we delve more into this hauntingly good flick. So in 2 weeks, we're going to hear from Parker Hargis, Bryson's buddy, and the actor who plays Thomas in Aparoksha. Join us then. See you then.